Have you ever wondered why, despite reading countless books, watching endless self-help videos, and listening to all kinds of inspiring advice, your life hasn't changed much? It's because there's one thing you've been avoiding: the truth. Not the comforting words that go down easy, but the rough, bitter truths that are hard to swallow. And yet it's those very truths, if you're brave enough to face them, that hold the key to breaking free from the cycle of your own stagnation. Stoic philosophy never sugarcoats reality. It points directly at what you need to see, no matter how hard it is to hear. Because true freedom doesn't come from comfort. It comes from discipline and clarity. This video will share 12 such truths. Each one will force you to reflect. But if you're willing to listen, willing to change, you'll begin to live differently, with more strength, more self-mastery, and ultimately, more freedom. If you're ready, keep going. 1. No one is coming to save you. We grow up with fairy tales. When life gets hard, someone will show up and save us. As children, that might be true. Parents solved our problems, teachers gave us guidance, and society offered some protection from life's collisions. But then we grow up, and no one comes anymore. The problem is, we keep the same expectation. We still quietly wait for a push from the outside, a sign, a person, a special event to pull us out of the rut. And because we're waiting, we don't move forward. You might be stuck in a job you hate, a relationship that's lifeless, a lifestyle that drains your energy each day, still thinking something will change, or eventually things will get better, or maybe one day someone or something will give me a fresh start. But the truth is, no one is coming. No savior is going to enter the scene of your life with a cape and bright light. And if you keep waiting, you'll stay exactly where you are, month after month, year after year. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because it comes with loneliness. So I have to do everything alone. The answer is, it's not that you're alone, but that you can. True strength begins when you stop expecting rescue from the outside and start acting from within. No one's coming, but you can move. No one grants permission, but you can begin. And strangely, it's precisely when you stop needing to be saved that you start seeing your real strength. Every quiet action, waking up early to train, writing a new section of your resume, reading a book instead of scrolling, is a way you lift yourself up. Not flashy, not needing an audience, but full of inner power. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you stop blaming your circumstances and stop waiting for someone to change your life, you'll discover the only thing that's always waiting for you is responsibility. And within responsibility lies freedom. So ask yourself, where in your life are you still waiting for someone to do something so you can change? Look directly at it and start from within. Because you don't need anyone to save you. You just need the courage to save yourself. 2. You're not tired, you're unfocused. We often say, "I'm so tired, I can't do anything." And yes, some days your body is genuinely exhausted. But most of the time, what we call tired doesn't come from physical strain. It comes from mental distraction. We're not burned out from doing too much, but from giving our attention to too many meaningless things and too few that truly matter. That constant fatigue doesn't follow a day of focused work. It comes after hours of aimless scrolling, replying to pointless messages, jumping from task to task without finishing any. It's exhaustion from constantly reacting to the world instead of living by what you choose. Every time you open your phone before you open your will, every time you check social media before checking in with yourself, you weaken your ability to focus. And that loss of focus is the silent culprit behind your chaos and drained energy. We live in a time when the mind is easily shredded by dozens of signals at once: app notifications, headlines, messages, images. And when there's no space for the mind to rest, it breaks down. Like a computer with too many tabs open, you're not multitasking, you're just tangled. And that fragmentation makes you think you need rest, when what you really need is clarity. The Stoics understood the power of focus. They refused to be swept up in what lay outside their control. They didn't let distractions steal their peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you find anything better than inner peace, pursue it. If not, return to yourself." This wasn't abstract philosophy. It was a clear warning. If you don't protect your focus, life will toss you around endlessly. You don't need more caffeine, more vacations, or longer naps. What you need is discernment. Pause and ask, what truly matters today? What is silently draining my energy? How much of my attention am I giving to things that don't nourish me? When you return to focus, you'll realize you're not as tired as you thought. You just need to reconnect with what's meaningful and let go of the rest. Energy isn't lost. It's leaking into what isn't worthy of it. 3. Growth demands discomfort. Here's a paradox that can't be ignored. Every real step forward comes with discomfort. No one becomes stronger by staying comfortable. No skill is forged in perfect peace. No character matures within the safety of the comfort zone. We live in a culture that worships convenience, where everything is made faster, easier, with fewer bumps. And yet many feel fragile, lost, and quick to break when life truly tests them. From early on, we are taught that if something feels uncomfortable, it's probably wrong, and we should retreat. But the Stoics saw it differently. To them, discomfort was a signpost of truth, the path to something better. Epictetus wrote, "Difficulties show a person's character." It's not in ease, but in struggle, that you see who really controls your life, emotions, fear, or strength. Think about it. What are you most proud of in your life? Was it a smooth, easy period without setbacks? Or was it the time you woke up early every day to master a skill? The time you stood up after a crushing failure? The moment you chose a difficult path, knowing it would cost you, and still went ahead? Each of those moments came with pain, fatigue, doubt, and sometimes loneliness. And yet, they made you who you are. Conversely, when you dodge hardship and choose ease, you're not making yourself safer. You're accepting a limited version of who you could be. You deny yourself the chance to expand your resilience, discipline, and inner strength. And then a single blow from life is enough to knock you down. The person who fears discomfort can never live freely, because they're always chained to the need for immediate ease. But the one who's trained in difficulty doesn't collapse under pressure, because they already know they can endure it. So next time you face something hard, instead of turning away or putting it off, face it directly. Treat it like a gym for the soul. No one enjoys discomfort, but the person who dares to step into it moves closer to their best self. Growth doesn't come from dreaming. It comes from doing the hard thing. And that is the price you pay if you truly want a life of depth. 4. Your emotions don't control the world. Some mornings, you wake up with a vague sadness, feeling useless, as if everything is too much. You sit there, hoping someone will understand, hoping the world will shift in some way to ease the weight you're carrying. But everything stays the same. The work still piles up, the bills still need to be paid, and everyone else is still busy with their own lives. And you realize your emotions don't make the world stop. This is a truth not easily accepted, especially by those who feel deeply. We believe that if we're sad enough, someone will care. If we're angry enough, things will change. If we feel stuck, life will send a signal to show us the way. But the world doesn't work like that. It doesn't run based on how you feel. It runs based on what you do. Stoicism doesn't deny emotion. It doesn't ask you to become a cold machine. But it warns that if you let emotion take the wheel, your life will constantly veer off course. Because emotions, no matter how real, are temporary. They come and go. They're affected by the weather, by poor sleep, by an unanswered message. If you wait to feel okay before you act, you'll always be held hostage by that inconsistency. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The obstacle is the way." He wasn't telling you to feel ready or to wait for inspiration. He was making it clear. The very thing blocking you is what you need to go through, and the only way to do that is through action. Not more thinking, not deeper feeling, but doing what must be done, even if it's uncomfortable, even if your mood doesn't cooperate. Look around. How many people put things off because they're not inspired? How many never start something new because they're not ready? Emotion becomes the perfect excuse to avoid responsibility. But maturity begins the moment you learn to move forward without needing to feel perfect first. When you act in spite of your mood, you don't just change outcomes, you rewire yourself. Each time you move anyway, you send a message to your mind. I'm not ruled by emotion, I take the lead. And over time, this builds an inner strength far more reliable than temporary motivation. Life won't wait for you to feel okay. It responds to what you do, not what you feel. If you want change, start with action and let your emotions adjust afterward. That's how Stoics live, not because they're cold, but because they understand. Peace comes from taking initiative, not from feeling good. 5. Time is the one asset you can't get back. We always say time is more precious than gold, yet we live as if it's infinite. We're cautious with every dollar spent, deliberate with expensive purchases, but we lose hours to meaningless conversations, aimless scrolling, and relationships that only wear us down. The paradox is clear. Money can be earned again. Health can sometimes be restored, but once time is gone, it's gone forever. You can lose a large sum of money and with enough time and clarity earn it back. But a day spent in delay, in numbness, in the belief that tomorrow will be different, is a day lost forever. No one gets to relive 25. No one returns to their youth to start again. And no matter how long you live, your time is still finite. The question isn't how long we live, but how we use the time we're given. Seneca once wrote, "It's not that life is too short, but that we waste much of it." The Stoics didn't measure life by years, but by the quality of attention. A person may live 80 years, yet always postpone, always chase distraction, always stay busy but aimless, and that life would pass like a long sleep. Meanwhile, someone who lives with awareness, with intention, and with meaningful relationships, each day becomes a precious gem. Imagine this. If each morning you were gifted $86,400 and anything you didn't use by night would disappear, how would you spend it? That's your time. 86,400 seconds each day. Yet instead of valuing it, most of us spend it like we'll never run out. We waste time arguing over the trivial, scrolling through others' lives, delaying our own dreams. And eventually we realize it wasn't opportunity we lacked, but time. Stoics taught that living well isn't about living long. It's about living with purpose. They didn't wait for a special day to be kind. They didn't wait for success to appreciate the present. Every moment was a chance to live aligned with their values. So ask yourself, how are you spending your time today? Are you investing it in what helps you grow, brings clarity, and makes you more whole? Or are you wasting it on what pulls you further from yourself? Time waits for no one. But if you start living with intention, every second becomes an accumulation, not to live longer, but to live deeper. 6. You are what you repeatedly do. A person is not shaped by one grand moment or a single breakthrough decision. We are shaped by the actions we repeat daily, whether conscious or unconscious. What you do consistently holds more power than any promise you make when you feel motivated. And if you want to know who you really are, don't look at your ideals or goals. Look at your daily routine. That's where the truth lives. Be honest. How do you begin your morning? Do you wake up, hit snooze, and scroll your phone for 30 minutes with no purpose? Do you work with sustained focus, or do you check notifications every few minutes? Are you training patience, kindness, discipline, or are you getting used to excuses, delay, and emotional reactivity? The things you do on repeat, no matter how small, are silently building the person you are becoming. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But he wasn't only speaking of thought. He meant the entire chain of behaviors that follow those thoughts. You cannot just think strength, you must live it. You cannot merely wish for peace, you must cultivate it by choosing how to respond every single day. Character, resilience, mindset, none of these are innate. They are the result of repeated training over time. The problem is, most people underestimate the impact of small habits. They say, it's just one skipped workout. It's just a late night. Just a few more minutes online. But these just this once moments add up until they become your lifestyle. In contrast, someone who understands the power of repetition doesn't dismiss the small things. They know one right action, repeated long enough, creates an entirely new self. You don't have to change your whole life in a day, but you must begin by changing what you do often. Want to live with more discipline? Keep just one small promise to yourself each day. Want more peace? Start with 5 minutes of silence each morning. Want more confidence? Do one thing daily that scares you just a little, but is still in your control. Every small act is a brick, and you are the one building the wall of your character, one brick at a time. In the end, what defines you is not what you say you want to become, but what you do when no one is watching. Choose your actions wisely, because it's the invisible things that are writing your future. 7. You will have to leave some people and places behind. One of the most unsettling feelings that arises as you begin to change is the sense that you no longer fit with people who were once close or in places that once felt safe. Maybe it's a group of friends you used to share everything with, who now seem shallow. Maybe it's a room you once called your refuge that now feels like a cage, holding outdated versions of yourself. That feeling doesn't strike all at once. It creeps in through shallow conversations, through moments where you force yourself to play along, through the quiet relief you feel when leaving, instead of sorrow. This isn't betrayal. This is evolution. When you change, that change isn't just internal. It shifts your alignment with the world around you. What once suited you when you lacked self-understanding may no longer serve you when you begin living with intention. but because of old ties, shared memories, the laughter, the tears, you hesitate. You ask yourself, am I being too harsh? Am I abandoning them? Am I changing too fast? These questions are real, and they hurt. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Everything changes. Observe that constantly." For him, change wasn't a threat. It was a law, and when you resist it out of fear of hurting others, you abandon your own path. Not everyone is meant to walk with you to the end. Some come only to help you learn something, then fade. Some places are only right for an earlier version of you. And if you stay trapped in that version. There are relationships that, to maintain, require you to shrink. There are environments that, to remain in, require you to disconnect from your core values. In those cases, leaving isn't selfish. Leaving is an act of respect for yourself and for the other. You don't need resentment, no drama, no need to argue, just a quiet recognition. I've changed, and this journey now needs a different setting. Letting go isn't easy. But if you refuse to let go, you carry what no longer serves you, and your growth becomes heavier. Know this, you're not alone. Everyone who truly evolves has, at some point, had to leave behind what was once familiar in pursuit of what is now right. So if you feel out of place in a circle that once felt like home, it may not be because you're wrong, but because you've outgrown it. And sometimes, growth isn't about adding more. It's knowing when to let go. 8. Boundaries are the foundation of peace. We often search for peace in external things, in distant vacations, soft music, or an afternoon free of interruptions. But true peace doesn't come from escaping the world. It comes from establishing clear boundaries within the ordinary rhythm of your life. Boundaries are not walls to shut out the world. They are fences to protect the deepest parts of you from being unconsciously overrun. You feel drained, not because you do too much, but because you do too many things that don't truly matter. It's not the work that tires you. It's the unwanted gatherings, the messages you didn't want to answer, the conversations you wanted to end long ago. The exhaustion comes from saying yes over and over when your inner voice is screaming no. Every time you appease someone just to avoid upsetting them, you trade your peace to preserve a relationship rooted in dishonesty. The Stoics understood that order begins with discernment. Epictetus once said, "To live in harmony with nature means to live in alignment with your true self." And your true self cannot stay grounded if you allow others constant, unchecked access to your mental space. Boundaries aren't a rejection of others. They are an agreement with yourself. A person without clear boundaries lives in a constant state of reaction. They have no time because anyone can take their time. They have no privacy because anyone can invade their mind at any moment. Their energy is scattered, leaking into countless directions for things that hold no real weight. Over time, they become bitter, irritable, easily hurt, not because the world is chaotic, but because they never built borders to protect themselves. Boundaries require courage. At first, you'll feel guilty, selfish, misunderstood. But remember this. Someone who's hurt by your boundaries isn't someone who truly respects you, and someone who walks away because you chose to live by your values is not meant to walk with you for long. When you draw boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself. You're teaching others how to treat you with love and dignity. Start small. Turn off notifications while you work. Decline unnecessary meetings. Stay silent when someone crosses a line instead of over-explaining. Peace isn't a gift for the lucky. It is the result of someone who lives with edges. And if you truly want calm in this chaotic world, start by protecting what matters most, yourself. 9. You don't need to control everything to be at peace. We often believe, if only we could arrange everything just right. Stable job, smooth relationships, good health, secure finances. Then we could finally breathe, finally find peace. But that is an illusion, because life has never agreed to be fully under your control. And the more you try to control everything, the more you lose the very thing you're chasing, peace of mind. The need to control is rooted in fear. Fear that something bad will happen if you don't intervene. Fear of embarrassment if others don't follow your plan. Fear of uncertainty if the future isn't clear. So you build elaborate plans, obsess over every reaction, agonize over the past, torment yourself with what-ifs. But all of this effort only leaves you exhausted. It never makes life more stable. The Stoics understood the only things you truly control are your perception and your actions. Epictetus taught this thousands of years ago. Some things are up to us and some are not. Wisdom lies in knowing the difference. You cannot control whether someone loves or leaves you, cannot determine the outcome of a project, cannot guarantee tomorrow's weather or ensure the future unfolds as you wish. But you can control how you respond, how you prepare, and how you preserve your dignity when things slip beyond your grasp. Imagine holding a fistful of dry sand. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips through your fingers. But if you open your palm, the sand stays. Peace is the same. It doesn't come from control. It comes from releasing what's not yours to command and focusing on what you can do today with clarity and honesty. When you stop obsessing over outcomes, you begin to feel light, clear, present. Letting go is not surrender. Letting go is accepting reality so you can act with wisdom. It's not abandoning responsibility, it's abandoning illusion. You still give your best, but you stop letting your mind be pulled by what lies beyond reach. And from there, you begin to taste real peace. Not because the world is perfect, but because you no longer demand it to be. So if you're trying to control someone, micromanage your future, fix the past, or guarantee a flawless tomorrow, pause and ask, what in all of this is truly in my hands? Once you answer that, you'll know what to let go of and what to hold firm. And that is the beginning of lasting peace. 10. Most people don't care as much as you think. You worry about how you spoke in a meeting, second-guess the outfit you wore to an event, feel uneasy over a careless comment that might have been misunderstood. You think people are watching you, judging you, keeping a mental list of every small mistake you make. But the truth is, they don't care that much. Most people are far too consumed by their own worries, thoughts, and insecurities to pay close attention to your every move. That may sound sad at first, but it's one of the most liberating truths you can accept. Because if most people aren't watching you as closely as you think, then you don't have to live for their approval. You don't need to hide yourself, don't need to force perfection, don't need to maintain a proper image at all times. You're allowed to try, to fail, to begin again, without worrying that the world is mocking you. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This isn't just advice, it's a way to live. When you realize that the opinions of others don't define your worth, you begin to live more honestly, more lightly, more decisively. You stop delaying your dreams for fear of judgment, stop staying silent in meetings out of fear of being wrong. Stop living halfway just to avoid disappointing someone. Think about it. Do you remember what others wore last week? Do you still dwell on a colleague's minor mistake? Probably not, because, like them, you're too busy with your own life. And the same goes in reverse. Most of what you fear others will notice is simply a product of imagination. The embarrassment you carry has long been forgotten. It's not others who are holding you back. It's you. Freedom begins when you stop interpreting others' glances. Stop seeking external validation and start asking, am I living this way because I believe in it, or because I fear what others will think? When the answer leans toward the second, it's time to correct your course. Not to rebel, but to return to your truest self. Imperfect, yet authentic, and free to choose your own way. The world isn't watching you as closely as you think. And that's good news, because it means you have space to try, to stumble, to grow, and to become yourself without needing anyone's permission. 11. What you take in shapes how you think. Your mind isn't an empty container, it's fertile soil. Whatever you plant in it long enough will grow into thought, habit, and eventually, identity. You can't expect a clear, calm, and insightful spirit if each day you flood your mind with toxic content, empty conversations, or hours of mindless scrolling. Just as the body can't thrive on junk food, the mind can't stay clear when constantly fed noise. The challenge is that most of what we take in happens unconsciously. You open social media just for fun and end up lost in clickbait, negativity, and comparison. You turn on the TV, radio, or YouTube as background noise, unaware of what's slipping into your ears. Each bit of input may seem small, but over time it forms your inner world, one that's scattered, chaotic, and unsettled. The Stoics knew this long ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts, and your thoughts, more often than not, come from what you take in every day. Who do you talk to? What do you read? What do you watch before bed? What sounds fill your home in the quiet moments?" These small details are the streams that either nourish or poison the forest of your mind. You don't have to disconnect from the world entirely, but you do need discernment. Read what helps you understand yourself better. Watch content that makes you reflect, not react. Speak with people who push you to live with more integrity, not those who drain you with gossip and noise. Your mind is the one place you'll live for life. Treat it with the same care you'd give your most valuable possession, because in the end, you become what you consistently take in. 12. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is the foundation. How many times have you felt excited to begin something? Working out, learning a new skill, writing, building a project, only to see that excitement fade after a few days? It's not because you lack ability or talent. It's because you're relying on motivation, a fleeting, unstable, and unreliable emotion. Motivation is like a gust of wind. It can push you briefly, but it cannot carry you far. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't ask whether you want to do something today or whether you're in the mood. Discipline simply says, know what must be done, and do it anyway. A disciplined person doesn't always have motivation, but they have habits. And those habits form the bedrock of real consistency, effectiveness, and growth. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't wait for inspiration to live with virtue. They didn't wait for good moods to take right action. They built lives on reason, principles, and consistency. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Much of that suffering comes from waiting for a good feeling before doing what we know we must, rather than just doing it regardless of how we feel. Discipline doesn't mean rigid or emotionless. It means you've matured enough not to let temporary moods dictate your behavior. When you build discipline, you stop fighting laziness every day, because you've already chosen your standard and you live by it. And here's the paradox. When you act consistently without waiting for inspiration, that consistency brings results. And results create real motivation, the kind that's rooted not in emotion but in trust in yourself. If you want to change your life, don't ask, "Do I feel inspired?" Ask, "Am I ready to build discipline?" Because motivation may start the journey, but discipline is what takes you all the way. I used to believe that if I had enough desire, enough inspiration, my life would naturally change. I spent hours listening to podcasts, reading self-help books, and watching motivational videos. But everything remained the same because I hadn't truly taken action. I avoided the hard truths, blamed my circumstances, and silently hoped that the perfect moment would arrive. But that moment never came. Only when I began to accept the harsh truths that no one was coming to save me, that emotions don't change the world, that procrastination was stealing my own time, did I start taking small steps toward change. And strangely, when I stopped avoiding, when I stopped chasing comfort, I felt more at peace. Not because life became easier, but because I no longer lived in illusion. That was the moment I understood. True freedom always begins with the courage to face the truth. If you found these insights valuable, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss future content. Each week, I'll explore with you the philosophy of clarity, discipline, and self-mastery. And remember, no one can live your life for you. No one can take responsibility for your journey. That's exactly why you hold the full power to begin again, starting with the truth. See you in the next video.